absolutely does work. A lot of people say evangelism doesn't work, door knocking doesn't work, sharing Jesus doesn't work. A variety of different methods don't work. But it does absolutely work. I encourage you to go to churchofchristevangelism.com to access all the slides that are shown here. Data, evangelism training ebooks, a wide range of resources and successful methods. Now, one of the people that got the ball rolling with evangelism in Tampa, Florida, her name is Darlene McCrae. She's in her 70s, maybe late 70s. She has a lot of health issues. But she decided to open her house up and to invite her neighbors, her friends, her relatives that were nearby over to her home for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study. The lady you see right below is Sydney Lumley. It's somebody she invited over for a Bible study, and she wanted me to teach the class. When people say evangelism doesn't work, it does work. Sydney Lumley was studied with a couple of years ago by an evangelist in the Lord's Church, Jacob Jordan. He had a sign in his front yard. It says, "Come over if you want a Bible study." Sydney came over and he studied with her. At that time, she wasn't willing to make the commitment, the sacrifices necessary to become a Christian. But when Darlene McCrae invited her over to her home and we studied with her, we used Home Bible Study by Johnny Edwards. Guess what happened? She thought about it, the seed had ripened and fermented, and she was ready. And I had the pleasure to baptize, to be a part of that baptism process. Sarah Delgado, another wonderful lady. She came in from the street. And my mother, Jeannie Sullivan, the far, far right corner. I guess it just depends where you're standing. My right is probably your left. The lady on the far end of the picture. She sat next to her, talked with her, was warm to her. So many times people come into a church and they're ignored, they're not talked to, people just give them a fishy, arbitrary hello and then walk away. My mom talked with her, connected with her, and invited her over for a Bible study. And studied with her, and she wanted to be baptized. And she's still faithful today, many years later, as is Sydney Lumley. And I had the pleasure to ground her after she was studied with, which was a very, very important process. People think salvation is just baptizing somebody after they realize they need their sins washed away. It is a follow-through as well, grounding them week in and week out. The best type of process is doing that for months on end, even years on end, to get them strong and help them develop in the Word. Nobody is born a baby and then 3 weeks later they're a full-fledged adult, and that's not how it is with Christianity either, spiritually speaking. You have to grow over stages and over time. Another person, Pat Johnson, far back. Guess who invited her over to her house for a Bible study? She was a relative of Darlene McCrae. She invited her over for a Bible study. We studied with her. Home Bible Study, again, by Johnny Edwards. And she wanted to be saved. And we studied with these ladies for years. They went to Darlene's home or my mom's home, Jeannie Sullivan. And two other ladies, Iris Stevens and Betty Murdoch. It's a powerful story about these ladies. Iris Stevens' husband, Bob, had fallen away. One of the members saw him at Sam's Club and said, "Brother, you should be back at church. We miss you. It's important that you be with God's people." And it bothered Bob a lot. But he got over it. He thought about it. He says, "Yeah, I need to be going back to church." He started coming to church. In that time frame when he fell away, He had gotten married. Many years passed, and he got married, and he brought his wife. And Ira Stevens started coming to church. And guess who invited Ira Stevens to a Bible study? Again, friendship evangelism and cold approach evangelism, which is basically inviting people you don't know very well or at all to spiritual events, talking with them, and then giving them the invite. Guess who came? Ira Stevens came. Guess who studied with her? I did. Darlene McRae invited her for a home-cooked meal. I studied with these ladies as well as the others for years. And she started inviting her sister, Betty Murdoch. And I studied with her at Darlene's house. And she was saved. And then they invited their other sister. So the trickle-down effect about evangelism is if you get one person involved and on board, they in turn invite somebody else, and they in turn invite somebody else. So evangelism does work. And this is just an example of friendship evangelism and cold approach, which is inviting people you know or people you don't know very well or at all to places where they can hear the Bible and have a chance to accept the message. And again, we studied with them for years, grounded them. And now you can study with people once after you baptize them, but if they're not fully grounded, guess what's going to happen? They're going to fall away. So the bare minimal, going through a couple of months worth each week of studying with people is recommended. Again, Jeannie Sullivan, my mother here, wonderful lady. She goes door knocking, and she has a bad heart and a bad knee, and it's hard for her, but she does it in the heat of Florida, the heat of the day in Florida, Tampa, Florida, and does flea market work and is busy. She has home Bible studies with these ladies at her house, has had done that. Amazing lady. Amazing lady. This is a example of infield work at the flea market. Now, fairgrounds and flea markets, there's a lot of foot traffic. Again, evangelism is a numbers game in a lot of respects. The more people you interact with, guess what's going to happen? The more likely you're going to get a result. And you see in these pictures a boy in red shoes, and he gets signed up for a Bible study, and on a guy in a Superman shirt signed up for a Bible study. Basically, what we did is we went up to people and asked, would you like to sign up for our Bible study? We would love to study with you. And we would have Bibles and Bible DVDs and sign-up sheet. And people that helped were one of the new converts, Sarah Delgado, my mother, and Kim Conrad, another church member from a visiting faithful Church of Christ nearby. And so we worked there for about 5 hours. And we got, 3 signatures. And some places that have a lot more foot traffic, you can get 5 or 10 signatures in that time frame. But it was a great experience. We rotate, take turns. Some of us would go and visit different stalls and areas and the stores nearby in this flea market or the donut area nearby, homemade donuts, but we had a lot of great conversations and interactions and signed people up, passed out Bible study literature, and that's what a Christian should be doing, is stuff like that. Here is one of the preachers I used to attend a church with, Kenny Fields. He's in this picture. And the lady you see here, fellow worker Janice Sheaves, she is somebody who's been helping with door knocking and apartment Bible studies and helping the new converts get to church and studying with folks. And she has a new convert class with other church members teaching the ladies Bible study curriculum. One of the people that came to Christ through the door knocking effort is Hannah Berman, a sweet young, very young at heart lady. She's been homeless through the years. She's suffered a lot, but she wanted to be saved and come to the Lord, and that's just amazing. When people say door knocking doesn't work, I think Hannah Berman and a lot of others can attest that it absolutely does. This is a door knocking thing. It led to outdoor Bible studies that we did at this apartment complex near the church building. Please keep in mind the factors of good evangelism is going to the poorest areas where people are hurting, struggling, where people have physical health issues or emotional or mental, where they have things they're facing. These type of people are more interested and more willing to accept spiritual truth because they don't have all the distractions of this life uh, barging in who they are and what they are, undermining the soil and the seed. As you remember, it talks about this in the gospel. The riches of the life and the pleasures of this world choke out the seed. When people aren't having a lot of pleasure and they don't have a lot of wealth, they're a lot more receptive. So, yeah, these are the people that were studying outside the apartment complex. Basically, what we did, we went to the apartment buildings. One of the members was a church member from our congregation, and she went with us. We knocked on everybody's door. We gave them a flyer to invite them to come to a Bible study with us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. outside. And we started having a trickle of people coming in doing that. The workers at the far end, African American sitting there. His name's Reggie Cheeves. He's a husband of Janice Cheeves we just talked about, and he has helped with studying with the new converts. There's a Bible study new convert class in the back of the building during Wednesday and Sunday services. He helped with that. He helps with that and outreach work, and helps with things we do on Wednesday afternoon with Bible studies, teaching the class. The guy in the purple shirt, Jack Adams, one year he converted 100 people. He's an avid door knocker. He's an avid Bible. He says if you reach enough people, somebody's going to say yes. And he's absolutely right. And he helps with a lot of the Bible study work, teaching the new converts on Sundays and Wednesdays with Reggie, as well as interacting with them throughout the week, helping them spiritually, and as well as the Wednesday afternoon Bible study here. And he does a lot of door knocking with me as well in this regard. One of the results of our door knocking work is James Ostino. He died with the Lord. Nice young man in his 30s. He wanted to change his life, and he's active and wanting to go to the studies on Wednesday at the apartment complex. That's where we met him. When we study with people, we'd invite, that's a foot in the door, a public study at the apartment complex. And we invite people we meet when we get connections with folks to one-on-one personal studies. And we did that with James. And he accepted the truth, and he is hungry for the Word of God. He's always reading his Bible, going to Bible studies. He's active and engaged in church work. Paula Dixon, another person that was saved through Bible study work and door knocking work. A sweet lady. She's had a lot of health issues through her life, a lot of pains, and a lot of heartbreak. But she wanted to have her sins removed and to die with the Lord. And she's part of the process that we had success with when we went door knocking. Now, in matters of Christianity, Christian love does matter. And it's not, oh, I love you. No, I love you. Oh, I love you more. It's not about words. True Christians, if they're going to grow a church, they need to understand that inviting people into their homes for Bible studies and new converts for studies and for hospitality is important. Being there for new converts, picking them up when they need a ride to church, visiting them in the hospital, calling them when they are not at church, these things matter. If somebody's baptized, nobody says amen. Nobody bothers to shake their hand or hug them after church. Nobody sits with them during worship service. If you want to grow a church, be a loving church. Do these things. If you just want to baptize somebody and just throw them by the side of the road, don't do these things. This matters. The worker in the background here is Darlene McCrae, and she's the one who has the new converts over for Bible studies, including the people we just recently mentioned at the apartment complex. She's an amazing lady. Despite all her health problems, she always puts God first in this matter. This lady here is grounded. She was baptized right, but we took her to her new convert class at church and grounded her because she did not know about the true church and Bible authority and the things she needed to know. And she's helping Darlene with preparing for a Bible study at her house in this picture. Here's another wonderful picture. And this is Nancy McGahee. And she was at the apartment complex. And keep in mind, this apartment complex, the people there had a lot of health issues, a lot of physical and mental and emotional health issues. They were struggling. They were super poor. They had nothing to do all day. They were unemployed. They had no cars. They just sat around bored. Most of them didn't have TVs. And so when and there's no apartment activity. So when we invited people to do Bible studies with us, we had a very good turnout. When you go to poor areas where people don't have jobs, they sit around all day, they live on welfare, they're hurting, they're poor. These are good areas to canvass. She was baptized into the Lord. We studied with her. She wanted to know about God's love. When we're having a group Bible study at the apartment complex, we said, that's a great question. We'll get together with you personally and talk about this more. We'd love to have a one-on-one study with you, me and Jack. And she agreed, and we got together with her and studied with her about the love of God, that God does love her, and what she needs to do to enter into that relationship with God. And after hearing that, she wanted to be baptized. The middle picture is the church members, and some of them are the new converts who are sitting there for her baptism. And the far side picture is a picture of her, and a picture of Janice Cheeves, who helps actively with evangelism. A modern day Priscilla and Aquila, that couple is Janice and Reggie Cheeves. There's a picture of me, and there's a picture of Jack, who is actively helping in this work with door knocking work and setting up Bible studies and teaching the new converts in the back of the church building on Sundays and Wednesdays in the Bible study class. Again, we talked about Lewis Matthews. She came. She invited Mike Randall to come. They both were scripturally baptized, but they did not know about the true church and Bible authority. We developed connections with them. We invited them to the new convert class. We studied with them and grounded them in the true church and Bible authority. My mom had practiced hospitality, and she had a lot of the new converts and non-Christians over as well for hospitality and for Bible study. And this is a picture of that. That's a picture of my mom's dog. And this guy right here, just want to shout out for him. He has been helping with new convert Bible studies as well, Bob Metz. Very nice guy. Very nice guy. This is a picture of the new convert class. In the back of the classroom, we've had non-Christians come. We've had Christians that need to be grounded come. We've had those recently baptized come. Those who were considering to be baptized come. And we studied with them on the things that were relevant for them in connection to salvation and grounding. And we have about 5 teachers in this class, so different ones can work with different students and talk with them about different things. If somebody doesn't know how to turn to the Bible passages, books of the Bible, one of the teachers help them turn their Bibles to the passages they need to go to. If somebody else has questions, one of the teachers can privately address certain questions while the other teacher's teaching the main material. But it's good to have multiple teachers for rotation so the teachers don't get burnt out. And it's good to have more than one Bible study class a week. People say you should only have one a week. I've done 2, 3, 4 Bible studies a week. And if people are new converts and they're hungry and they're excited, or they're not Christians and they want to learn more and they're really eager, then that works. That absolutely works. But having a lot of teachers, it helps with the rotation. Different teachers being able to work one-on-one, it helps with the new converts, non-Christians getting a connection with these people. It also helps with the teachers grow and develop in these areas of teaching. That's much more use of their time than sitting and listening to some guy in an auditorium talk for 30 minutes or 40 minutes and them not really being put to use. The best way to grow is to teach. Here's another guy who is the result of the door knocking work I did. Francis Baptista. We went door knocking. We were about to give up. We were about to throw in the cards. And we went to one more door. And guess who we ran into? This fantastic fellow. And we talked with him for an hour. Somebody had planted the seed in his heart already. Somebody had shared with him about the Church of Christ and baptism. So he was somewhat familiar about these things, and he was more interested. So please keep in mind, when we do evangelism, we may never see the results. We may plant the seed and somebody else may harvest the result. But the point is, if we do the work, that is what counts. Because if we do the work, we are planting seeds. And when we plant seeds, the likelihood of a result coming will come in its season and its time. Maybe something we will not even see, but somebody else will reap the reward of the harvest through such work. But we talked with him an hour about the Bible. We invited him to church, and he said yes. And he's still faithful. He serves in worship service. He attends regularly. And outstanding, wonderful man. Wonderful man. Just keep in mind, we went to one more house, at one more door, and we ran into him. And we didn't see him for a couple of months. Then he came. He came to church, and he's been coming, and years have passed, and he's still coming faithfully. Okay, the next slides are going to be in my work in California, doing street and campus work. And Rory Spell, he's I would say the best street campus evangelist in the country. If you want to learn how to do street evangelism, Rory Spell is the man to go to. I went and I learned, and I was trained through what he was doing. He trained me, and he's an exceptional man. In this picture is Lee Bell, his wife. So let me get into the details with this. I was doing street evangelism, and we will get further into what that is in our discussions. If you go into the other slides, we will get into that. You can also access the details at the blog Church of Christ Street of Campus Evangelism.com, Church of Christ Street Campus Evangelism.com, to read the blog and details about street evangelism. But I was doing street evangelism and getting Bible study signatures, and Kelly Jensen came up, signed up, and her name, her number, and we contacted her and asked when would be a good time to study, and we got together with her. We shared with her the plan of salvation, and she was baptized. I have these Bible study cards. They have people share their salvation experience first. It's important, because what Kelly did was she said she was saved through the sinner's prayer. Then she said 3 weeks later she was baptized. So when we shared the salvation experience, the salvation material with her, after she signed that on her salvation card, her salvation experience, guess what happened? She said, "Well, I was baptized. I must be saved." And we said, "You said in the thing you signed that you were saved through the sinner's prayer, and then you were baptized 3 weeks later." And she said, "Oh yeah, you're right. I need to be baptized for the right reasons." So it's important to have something where they can sign their salvation story, their experience first, so that way they don't get everything muddled up when you say you have to be baptized to be saved. And if they were baptized for some other reason, they don't jar those two things together. Aaron Eaton, in doing campus work, which is similar to street evangelism. Again, we'll get into that further in the slides in the upcoming lessons. He's a college student. He looks like a football player. He signed up for a Bible study. I got together with him, went over the plan of salvation, and he wanted to be baptized. Just as absolutely two most underutilized methods in the brotherhood. I don't think many people even know about them. Is street work and campus work, evangelism. And when it comes to getting Bible study signatures, getting a booth set up, getting Bible study signatures, and getting results. Now, this is a powerful story here. Now, I was doing street evangelism on Arrowhead in San Bernardino, California, 40% homeless. Gangsters riding their bikes, their guns sticking out of their pockets. Rough area. And Gabriela Gomez came up to my table, signed up for a Bible study. And she wanted to write to church, and she wanted to start going to church and getting her life changed. Guess what happened? She wouldn't have done that. I was getting ready to close shop. I worked for one more hour. She was one of the last people to sign up for a Bible study. If I had closed up, if I had given up, if I didn't work that a little bit longer, I would have never met her. She signed up for a Bible study. I texted her best time and when to get together. She contacted me back. She started coming to the church regularly. She wanted to do Bible studies. She brought her little boy you see in that picture and her newborn baby, 6 months old, to church, and she started bringing her boyfriend, Ruben Navarro Jr., and he wanted to change his life. He started coming to church regularly. He went off of meth. He was doing a lot of bad things, and he's changed his life. The powerful thing is, he even wanted to marry her. He didn't want to be living in sin. They not only started doing that, but they started helping me with campus work and street evangelism, passing out flyers and cards and signing people up for Bible studies. It's just powerful. And they were coming to church and they were hungry. It was beautiful. Clark Abowd, when people say evangelism, cyber evangelism doesn't work, it does. I've run Facebook ads inviting people to church in the area, and people have come to church. And it's not that expensive. You can put posts. Anyways, I was posting something on Facebook about evangelism and the work I was doing in San Bernardino, California. Clark Abowd saw that. He was interested. He wanted to know more about evangelism and the church. I invited him to worship with us at the Mount View Church of Christ. He came. Then he came again. While I was in California, we had Bible discussions and talked, and he started getting to know the preacher as well at the church, Royce Bell. And when I was leaving to go back to Florida, due to some health problems, some relatives, some family had to take care of, be there for them, he was baptized. When I got back to Florida, that's what I heard about. The preacher, Royce Bell, and evangelist, which is what a preacher, and it should be an interchangeable term, baptized them into the Lord. There's a lot more success stories, a lot more out there of what we've been doing, of the results we've been getting, but running out of time. Just want to share these with you. If you want to learn more about the success stories, what we've been doing, go to churchofchristevangelism.com, churchofchristevangelism.com, and look at the blog section of the link that is linked to it. Blog section will detail a lot of this. This website will also have a lot of details about street evangelism, campus evangelism, a lot of powerful free materials that you can access. Thank you for your interest, and God bless you.